Welcome to the Final Hour podcast from the original Living Word Christian Center in Brooklyn Park, Minnesota.
Yeah.
My name is John.
I'm Jim Hammond.
I'm Lonaiah.
And I'm JD.
We are so
Jerry.
glad you're here.
Jerry.
She dropped a bomb.
That's a
That's
song.
it.
By the Gap Band.
Dropped a bomb on.
You dropped. Remember when Gap had the commercial with that song in the background
Sure
last
do.
year? Yeah.
Did they?
Yeah, they did. You dropped a bomb on me, baby.
Somebody wrote in and said, how can Jim have rhythm and not do a hula hoop? Well, if anyone out there saw me dance at my daughter's wedding, please write in.
I did not
I
see
did see you dance, but what does that have to do with the because you had rhythm?
Okay, if you have rhythm, you should be able to dance, correct?
Well, yeah, but
Okay,
how
but
can you not hula hoop if you can move your
I
hips?
don't know why. I don't know if I just overthink it. I can move my hips.
Well, then why
just
can't you
can't-
hula hoop?
I'm better with my hips and my feet than I am with my
That's not
shoulders.
hula hoop.
No, than I am with the shoulders. Okay? Some people are good in their shoulders, arms, everything.
Yeah, I'm good with my shoulders.
Like
I'm
rubber.
a good car dancer. Yeah. Are you a good car dancer, John?
I am an amazing
Yeah, you
car
dance in the
dancer.
car while you listen to music. I have a funny story. This
Yeah,
is really funny.
I'm ready.
I was.
Renee's happy today.
I know. I don't know.
Okay, must have been the prayer.
It was the prayer. I was driving my son home from a baseball thing yesterday, and we're in a city that I'm not normally around. And I look behind us, and I see a bicycle on the road, and I was like, "Gosh, this guy's on the road. Like he's going to be annoying." And all of a sudden, I look over to ask Wrigley a question.
Yeah.
And the biker is like in Wrigley's window, like just looking at us. And all I could do is like, I smiled and laughed at the guy. And then I'm like, oh, he's on an electric bike.
Yeah.
So this guy, like we're at like 3 stoplights. We go up and stop and up. And every time I look over and the guy like pulls up to the window and just smiles. It was the funniest. I laughed so hard. So wherever you are, that biker, you brought humor
God
to
bless
me and
you,
Wrigley.
biker boy.
Yes.
Well, it's nice to hear the roads aren't all violent.
And he was
out
wearing
there.
like a helmet and like goggles and was like, he was so kind to everybody, like waving cars over. Like he was.
I feel
he
like
was-
the
he
roads
was
have
feeling it.
gotten more
Yeah.
violent and aggressive.
I agree.
More tailgaters, more people cutting people off, more people flicking people off out there.
I was cut off 5 times today on the way to work.
Yes.
It was crazy.
And
I didn't even see anyone on the way to work.
every
You know?
tailgater, it is such a temptation to do the break thing. Or just
Oh, I thought you were going to say the bird.
I tell
'cause-
you what's even more fun is with a tailgater is you just slowly slow down.
Yeah.
but can I
Almost
say something?
imperceptibly.
So if you're in a 35, you wind up doing like 20,
Yeah.
right? You want to
But
make
without
a
putting the brakes on even.
But that's what I'm saying. No brake
Yeah.
lights. But I'm telling you, here's the thing. We're not saying that you should do that.
No.
Okay, because it's a
But it is delicious,
I've had
childish
some-
revenge.
But you know
Yes.
what's kind of nice when you don't do anything at all? You kind of feel like they didn't bother me. But they did, but you didn't react for like so they
You
could
didn't let
see
them
you.
in.
No, because yesterday my window's down, and sometimes if someone yells at me, I'll yell back. I'm that person. And I was turning, I didn't turn my blinker on because I was in the turn lane. So like I didn't have to. This guy's like 4 cars back, and he's like, "Nice blinker," and I wanted to say some things out the car window, and I just thought, you know what, I'm not going to say anything to
the
him.
best to those guys is just go.
Well, I was.
Just blow them a kiss.
I'd just say thank you.
Did you
Nice
like
blinker.
that?
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
Anyways, we are picking up
Wait.
here on episode 86.
Time.
Oh, listen.
Give me that
up.
shirt.
Give me that shirt, Maryland from Guatemala.
Yeah,
From
Marilyn.
Guatemala, that's spectacular.
It is.
Maryland from Guatemala. Give
should,
me
She
that
won.
shirt.
She won
Marilyn-
Jim's. It was actually, I will say, the responses from people were really funny.
Yeah.
I
liked
you know
it.
what?
I
What
would just
Jim?
like to say, Marilyn, you should connect with Carlos in Guatemala. They have a great ministry
Oh.
that we're connected to.
Well, I'll give you
and,
Marilyn's email.
we will. Carlos
It was
is the best.
disappointing that-
Carlos and his wife, Damaris, not
That
to
only
hook
9
up
people
That
wrote
out
in.
of
romantically.
2,000 subscribers, only 9 people said, "Give me that."
Okay.
How many
let me-
people wanted your
Nasty
pit-stained
shirt.
sweatshirt?
But let me say one thing, Jim.
I thought it'd
Jim,
be a lot more than 9.
I'm sorry.
He's still fresh. I don't.
Always.
Hold on. After 8 hours,
Yeah.
you think you're not the first person to write in. So no one's going to write in and say,
Yeah, we're just
it was
picturing-
a spontaneous.
We're just picturing all these people waiting for it to download.
But most people didn't know it was
They
an
didn't even
early
know
release.
it was early. Yeah.
So
I
Jim,
had
next
multiple
time,
people at church this week go, "You guys released it early." I told somebody, they're like, what are you guys talking about this next week? And I was like, well, actually we released it Friday night, Saturday morning. And they're like, I could have been listening all day.
You can put alerts on your
Yes.
YouTube. I don't know about
Click the bell.
the bell, and then you'll get
on
alerts.
the channel.
And
Yep.
you could have written in,
You
give
could
me
have
that
gotten it
shirt
immediately.
and gotten Jim's
That's right.
Well, do we have the
special
coin?
merch. Yes,
Where is it?
it's in the office. I didn't know
Well,
we were
never
doing
mind.
that
We have
today.
to show him the coin.
Jeremiah has a picture.
She wants to give away the satanic coin.
It's
It's a
not
bat coin, you guys.
If you want the satanic coin that from the national
Fruit
parks.
bats they eat mosquitoes. I
They
love
do.
fruit bats.
Say, show me the money. Are we doing it officially today?
No, we're going to
okay.
show the coin.
Okay, it'll be coming,
was-
guys.
It
Get
was-
your respond with your best Cuba Gooding Jr. Show me the
Meme.
money meme.
See,
That'd be great.
Jim?
What makes the coin so desirable though, is that it was on my garage floor for a long
Oil,
time
grease, dirt.
before I finally picked it up and said, "What is
After
this
it had
coin's
been hexing you for so
coin
long.
has been here for 7 weeks."
Who put it here and how did it get here?
Yes.
Probably just fell out of your pocket at
It
some
probably
point.
did.
How's that again? Okay.
Good for you,
So-
John.
Listen. Sorry, we've been going on for 7 minutes. So first of all,
Best part of the podcast.
I'm just glad John was here for the opening this week.
Hey.
just picking up on Israel from last week. Please do subscribe, by the way. I'm sure most of you know this.
Click that bell.
It's on the regular news, but they have put the Gaza Strip down there in the south part of the country of Israel where all the terrorists came out to attack the surrounding Israeli settlements. They have put that area under siege. They've surrounded it. And obviously at this point, we're all waiting for them to go into Gaza with their troops. And so because that is the only way you're going to get those 16,000 Hamas soldiers out of there. I do have to say, you can't believe what's being taped on the news.
No.
You know, John just moments before we taped this was showing us a setup where they were setting up. They had set up the tires.
Yep.
They had the Palestinians throwing rocks at nothing.
They're sitting behind a barricade
And
on
these
a
guys,
road.
they don't know these guys are filming.
Yeah.
These particular guys are giving commentary.
Right.
And the news or the media, the left
The
wing
puppets.
puppet media is right in front of them.
Yeah.
Getting this, right? And so these guys are commentating. This is a really good video. And can we
can link that
John
for
will
sure.
We're going to have that on the link. You've got to
Yep.
check this video out because you cannot believe what CNN, NBC, ABC, all these guys are putting up there.
I actually have a second one where there's reporters in America, CNN reporters. They set up a shot. They've got their cameras there. They have the reporter ready to go. And then they set up and they have about a dozen people that are Palestinian supporters, with their Palestinian flags and everything like that, take their place behind where the reporter's going to report from, like there's a big protest. The street is completely empty.
Wow.
Aside from that, she takes her place and gives a report like she's there at a mass protest.
How can people even believe in
CNN.
this? Yeah,
CNN
CNN is
giving you the news, right?
Yeah.
And
So
but
that one we'll give you that one as well to watch. I mean, they are completely fabricating
a bunch of liars.
lies.
You know,
Yeah.
liars.
mis and disinformation.
CBS,
Yes.
ABC, NBC,
Yep.
all of them. MSNBC, you know, that media, all of them. CNN,
Yep.
liars. And so I need to correct something from last week, and I don't know if it's correction, But I'm just telling you, there's another side to the fact. Israelis that we really respect are saying that you remember the Egyptians were saying that they had
3
warned
weeks before.
Yeah, they had warned Israel of this attack ahead of time. The Israelis that we listen to and talk to have said there's absolutely untrue, that there was no warning, no one saw this coming. But here's the thing. I seriously question the fact or think it's very suspicious being the number of times I've been in Gaza, right?
Yep.
To those very settlements, numerous, at those walls, it's very suspicious that they have pulled off a bunch of their troops from the border and moved them elsewhere.
Right.
I'm told it's Bethlehem. And that is not fake news. Okay, that is real. And to me, could that be a coincidence? Not to me. That is not a coincidence to me. For that to happen at the same time the Israelis experience the biggest attack on their country in 70 years. I do not believe that is a coincidence.
No.
But you can believe whatever you want.
Can I say something quick? When you go to Israel, I've been there a handful of times. There is a soldier stationed everywhere. You turn a corner, there's a station. They're everywhere. There's civilians. Everybody has to be part of it.
Right.
But I was listening to Charlie Kirk talk about this last night. He was on like Jordan Samarasso's podcast or something. And he was saying that for the last 9 months that Benjamin Netanyahu has been protested against, which Jim talked about. Jim was there when it started happening, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so he was saying they've been on the brink of civil war since that time. And Charlie Kirk was saying there is always IDF soldiers everywhere, but for some reason they're all pulled off and nobody is standing there at this time. And he said, so from Jerusalem to the Gaza Strip is a 45-minute helicopter ride. He said so the Hamas people who came in, they just went on a killing spree for 6 hours.
6 hours.
Murdering families, burning families. Like they found families, I was listening to Jonathan Kahn, huddled together, hugging each other, just burned to a crisp. Babies dead, pregnant mothers killed, people kidnapped. He's like, why didn't Benjamin Netanyahu ask anybody to stand down? Why didn't he send anybody there to stop this?
How about some helicopters?
Yes.
How about
He's
some
like,
gunships?
nothing. So what is that all about?
All of those
right?
individual
45 minutes to drive to fly a helicopter from Jerusalem to the Gaza Strip.
Less than that.
This is just Charlie Kirk saying he was on a sightseeing helicopter, so it took longer. Yeah. But he's
instead
like, for
of
6 hours,
an organized response, because we've talked about how we know people who were like, as soon as we heard about it, they got in their cars,
they all
went to the
there.
action to try to protect their people, but there was no official response.
Soldiers on leave, at the beach, went home, grabbed their M16s.
Yeah.
They use M16s over there, but they're modified. They make them a little better. They take
M4A.
And so they grab it and they just went into the action. But what we're saying is, why did it take 6 hours? And we're not the only ones. I was happy to hear Charlie Kirk, who's really well informed. And something else I don't know or don't remember if we said this last week, but a lot like Vietnam and the Viet Cong and the NVA, those were our enemies in Vietnam. Mm-hmm. They had a labyrinth of tunnels everywhere, tunnels. The Hamas and the Gaza Strip has a city of tunnels underneath the ground level of Gaza, right? And so they're going to have to deal with that. That's a whole nother type of warfare.
Yeah.
All right. That's
you don't even think about that. Like
you
when
don't even,
because you don't see it. So you're just thinking of the ground, not what's underneath.
Yes. It's
and
a
all
city.
Those, crazy.
Yeah. You said, that this area has been prepared for 50, 60 years for urban warfare, not to mention all of that. I mean, that is very unconventional warfare to try to rat out all those people or smoke out all those opposition in the tunnels.
And didn't you say when you were
dangerous.
there that, remember I think we posted it to last week's picture, but we had a picture of the guy on the other side of the tunnels, right?
Well, that's in the north.
Okay.
That's a Hezbollah soldier.
Hezbollah.
That if you look at on our information on our clips and things that we show you where we get our information. There's a guy standing, taking pictures.
Oh yeah, the guy.
That was in Lebanon. That's Hezbollah. That's the 50,000 troops up north. They've got 7,000 on the border. But I'm just saying. So check that out, because we get off the bus in the March tour that I was on, and there he is. We're taking his picture. He's taking our picture, and the guide,
Crazy.
Our guide told us, if you were to step over that wall, he would definitely kill you. He could legally kill you. So it'll be complicated when Israel goes in there, because there's a labyrinth of tunnels. That was in Lebanon, by the way, in the border of Lebanon, set up for this purpose. And they started setting it up when George Bush handed over, ousted, thousands of Israelis out of their houses and gave that land, some of the most perfect, the farmable, incredible land in the country, to the Palestinians. And they left them all these greenhouses, because I was down there. I toured it before they were going to have to give it. They had beautiful neighborhoods, and it was amazing what they had. It was amazing what they were growing down there. A lot of farming, a lot of agriculture, and they left it all for the Palestinians. And the Palestinians, as soon as they handed it over, they burned it. They burned it all to the ground. And so, out of Gaza Strip right now, they still, but since 2005 or 7, when Bush handed it over, they started doing the tunnels, because this is what they wanted to one day be able to do. And obviously we still have rockets being launched from Gaza into Israel. And so that tells us that the rocket launchers more or less have to be at least somewhat exposed above ground. So not everything has been, it's hard to destroy all that stuff. They're professionals at hiding it. They can move it around. The rocket launchers. And so keep in mind, the Biden administration wants a Palestinian state. All right. They want to hand over the West Bank. They want to hand over, Gaza's already been handed over. Obama wanted to hand over the Golan Heights on top of that. That's what they would love. They'd love to, because then it's over. If you lose the Golan Heights, the high ground in the north,
that would be.
But just in Gaza, but in the West Bank, which is, it's called a two-state solution, which is not biblical. The Bible warns through prophecy not to be involved in dividing that land up that God gave to Israel. Your nation will be judged if you take part in dividing the land up. In the end, we had a lot to do with them becoming a nation. We give a lot of aid to them, a lot of military aid. But how much does it balance out if you're giving away land, right? How much does it balance out? There's something in the Bible called sheep and goat nations, right? In the very end, nations will be judged. This is after we have been taken out. If you believe Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior, there's something called the rapture. You can see all about this stuff if you view. We've got it all 84. This is number 86. We've gone through the book of Revelation. We've told you what's coming. We've tried to put, general timelines. Of course, we're not going to tell you, because no one knows when the rapture is coming. But if you believe Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior, you will be going. That's what we believe. But this is what takes place afterwards. You do not want the United States to be judged as a goat nation, as a nation that did not support Israel.
Absolutely.
And so in a lot of ways, our presidential administration is playing both sides, funneling money to Iran. All that said, okay, Iran, Hezbollah, Hamas, all together, funded by Iran, absolutely did not expect the type of military response the United States has made since the Hamas attack out of the Gaza Strip into the Israeli settlements. I don't know how much you guys know about this, but the Israelis that I get to talk to are insisting that there are U.S. troops on the ground, that they see U.S. troops on the ground. And we know the 101st Airborne is in Jordan, right next door. The United States military at this point has made a very strong statement with what they've supplied Israel with. Guy, a friend of mine, was crying on the phone because right when this stuff went down, he was on the phone and he's saying, I know, you got an issue with your president, obviously, but I'm looking at the American planes landing ammunition into Ben Gurion Airport every minute.
Wow.
They're landing every minute because that is the big thing. They have to have ammunition. They could run out of ammunition if something started in the north. And so the United States started with that right away, plus 2 naval carrier groups now, 2 of them. The typical breakdown, okay, for a current carrier battle group is 1 carrier, all right, 2 cruisers, 3 destroyers or frigates, and 1 auxiliary ship. Just in the 2 cruisers and 3 destroyers, there is enough, and probably 2 cruisers and 3 destroyers to possibly destroy the state of Minnesota.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. You're talking about precision-guided missile systems. If you look at, it's all on video. When we invaded Iraq twice, some of the first things you saw happen were those ships, even before the planes.
The Tomahawks.
Were the cruiser missiles coming out of the ships. It is an incredible weapon. They can hit within feet of where they're, and they just sit out there.
Yeah.
And shoot exactly where they want. The carriers, 2 aircraft carriers, can accommodate up to 130 FA-18 Hornets. 130.
Wow. That is
260 high-level fighter planes. All right. I mean, a lot of the air forces around the world don't even have that, which we can put on 2 carriers. People do not understand. Sometimes Google number of aircraft carriers. Right. You Google that sometime. Top 10. We are, and to say that we're in trouble. All right, just look. What does China have, like 3 last time I looked?
I don't even know.
It's just.
But those carriers are incredible.
And Russia too. What do we have? 14.
Right, something like that.
9. Something ridiculous. Anyways, per carrier, and I've given those numbers before. The FA-18 Hornets. All right. 130 of those fighter planes, or 85 to 90 aircraft of different types. Okay, the current numbers, they call about 64 aircraft per carrier. An F-18 Hornet, I'm just telling you, that's what they usually carry.
Yeah,
I don't know, combat wise, when they're trying to put everything they can on them, they can carry a lot more than 64. The FA-18 Hornet became the nation's first all-weather fighter attack aircraft, was designed for traditional strike applications, right, such as interdiction, close air support, and it can still be a very good fighter. It can still shoot down Russian MiGs, Chinese MiGs. It's a fighter jet also. And so that's what they have, on these carriers, with the United States having such a strong military presence. Now what is going on, if you look at it from Iran's perspective, Hamas in the south could be completely destroyed, right? All those weapons down there in the Gaza Strip that Iran worked so hard to get down there.
Right.
All those people, estimated 16,000 Hamas troops, 30,000 missiles in Gaza. And I believe this is why we haven't seen anything happen coming out of Lebanon or Syria.
Because our presence was there.
Not expected.
Yeah.
Well, I can understand if they're getting money from the United States, they're not going to think that they're going to show up and support Israel the way they are.
Well, especially, you sent to me that I don't know if it was from Instagram or whatever.
Oh,
that
last night?
Yeah. I don't know if this is too early, but...
No, go ahead.
Yeah, you sent a message that Biden had already committed $100 million for
humanitarian
aid. Humanitarian aid.
Yeah, so...
Problem is,
it's not
anytime you say humanitarian aid, it doesn't mean, watch the receipts. What is it actually being used for? If it's
same thing we tell you to look at in Ukraine when we send money over.
They're sending
billions.
It was so bad. Anyways, we'll get to this. We're getting ahead of ourselves. But in the north, Lebanon and Syria is the countries that border Israel to the north. You have a mercenary proxy army called Hezbollah, 50,000 strong, 7,000 troops, very close to the Israeli border, 140,000 mid, short, long-range rockets, and on top of that, mortar rounds that can shoot up to 30 miles.
Yeah.
Okay, and so they're considered a top 10 artillery in the world, just with what they have on the Lebanese border.
Yep.
You've got all these militias in Syria that the Iranians have trained. They're from Pakistan, Iraq, Yemen, have been fighting for years. And so from multiple other countries. See, the Iranians don't want to fight themselves. So they have paid for, trained, equipped Hezbollah, all these other militias. But Iran is looking at losing everything.
Right.
They poured millions of dollars into the Gaza Strip, right? Everything they were financing. And now, if it was to start in the north, right, with a strong U.S. military backing, they risk losing it all if the U.S. got involved. And so when I say north, I'm talking about Syria and Lebanon. Gaza Strip is in the south of the country. Remember, this is not the Ezekiel 38 war. You can see that on our first 2 or 3 episodes. We go into detail. It's about a war that's going to happen in the Middle East. It's biblical, and it's a sign, right, when you see that war. And I don't believe it's that war. If Hezbollah attacks Israel from Lebanon and Syria, the U.S. gets involved because we have military on the ground. That risks Russia being involved because they have multiple bases in Syria.
Well, did you see, speaking of Russia getting involved, so the U.S., you said they have 2 naval
groups.
Yeah, but they have something, and I think it was like the Baltic Sea or Mediterranean Sea. So Russia moved one of its ships over there by R2.
Yeah.
You think it's a carrier?
I don't know. I can Google it while you're doing this, but
Let's
I read
see what
it last
is.
night.
Is it a carrier group? And, I will tell you this. It's almost, you should Google the largest navies in the world. That's all you have to do. Right.
I'll
yeah,
do some
and
of
you
that
can
right
see
now.
the difference. Like people think that we're in such, as far as military equipment, that with the best technology in the world, we still, with the little nation of Israel, are we're unmatched for masses. Because when you Google the largest navies in the world, it usually gives you the number of carriers.
Right.
So. I think
I'll find it, but
it's funny.
I'll attach it.
China says that they have 777 total warships.
Yeah,
but they only have 2 aircraft carriers,
which says a lot.
Yeah,
that
because they're
big
counting,
deal.
They're counting little dinghies. Basically.
770 warships. Okay, all right, but I'm telling you, World War War II was won. The oceans were won by carriers.
Yep.
Okay,
Russia only has 1 aircraft carrier.
How many do we have?
We have 11.
Okay, so, and that comes with a group.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we have 10 helicopter carriers.
Yeah. So
68 submarines and 92 destroyers, which it blows everything else up.
Which is a wicked little ship. A destroyer that's exactly what all it does is it destroys. Yeah. And yes, that sounds like a serious war. If Russia got involved, we got involved.
Right.
But in trying to match that with prophecy, Ezekiel 38, America is not involved. Mm-hmm. All right? On either side of Ezekiel 38 war. So if we're going to pray for Israel right now outside of their safety, pray the U.S. continues to supply the military backing and even more. Pray the U.S. will keep supplying the Israelis with a regular, daily, if not hourly supply of ammunition.
Yep.
All types of ammunition, because that is the thing they need the most.
Right.
Out of the 2 carrier groups, estimated 130 jets, U.S. Special Forces, Army Rangers, other troops that we have on the ground. That is what they need. They need that. Mm-hmm. But they have to have the ammunition, because Israelis, these are ex-Special Forces people that we talk to, believe that as long as the U.S. presence is there, things will remain quiet in the north. Now, I'm telling you, that is their opinion, and that is mine, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that's for sure. I'm giving you professional opinion, not mine, but the people over there. If things remain quiet in the north, you know what that does? That allows Israel to exterminate Hamas in Gaza,
Yep.
making capabilities, taking the war capabilities away, capturing or killing the 16,000 Hamas troops in the Gaza Strip. I call them soldiers. They are. They're trained soldiers. And so I want to make a quick point here. I don't know how long it's going to take me, but prayers are being answered. I believe it's because of prayer that we are helping Israel with literal troops on the ground and 2 aircraft carrier groups. But here's the thing. This is what you need to, in essence, to pray. Okay? You need to pray about this. Do you know who the Biden administration had in charge of their Middle East foreign policy? The guy in charge of representing the United States in regards to Israel foreign policy was a guy named Robert Malley. This is the President of the United States. This is who spoke for you, America, and Minnesotans, and your President of the United States in regard to Israel, and who shaped policy in regards to Israel, a man named Robert Malley. In essence, he's still shaping it, all right? And I'll explain why. Robert Malley is a proven pro-Iranian advocate and an anti-Semite to the core. That's not an exaggeration. That is not fake news. He lost his job when it was proven, this is Robert Malley, Joe Biden's guy, that he was passing classified information to the Iranian government. And you know what? I don't know if CNN showed that.
I never heard about
They
it.
haven't. No.
Is he not in jail? Isn't that like war
of course
crimes?
he's not. This is your president of the United States of America.
Where is
and the
Robert?
man he had, who he chose to shape U.S. policy in regards to Israel. Here's the other thing Robert Malley did. He had actual Iranians. That in itself is okay. But these are pro-Iranian government individuals that were Iranians in high-level positions in the U.S. State Department. Robert Malley.
Oh, he's only placed on leave in June.
Yeah.
So
you have
July, August, September, October. 4 months.
So you have
less than
Malley,
4 months ago.
this idiot, we can call him an idiot, lose his position because he was transferring classified information. It was proven to the Iranian government.
Wow.
And he got caught, but it doesn't matter because all the pro-Iranian government officials that he instituted that shape U.S. policy in the Middle East in regards to Israel, still there.
Yeah.
Still there.
I mean, that's
He's still
that's
being paid.
which explains a lot of the money to Iran over the last few months.
Of course.
Which makes me extremely mad. To add on top of this, our climate czar in America, John Kerry, he has also been working very closely with the Iranians, and he is actually under scrutiny for passing documents and info to Iran as well.
John the Clown Kerry.
That guy is a piece.
Remember he ran for
A
president?
BLT with cheese. I do remember when he ran for president.
Okay. But we still have pro-Iranian individuals making decisions in regard to U.S. policy with Israel and the Middle East abroad in our State Department. And I just want to remind you, and some of you, and the 2,000 plus subscribers, that's just on YouTube.
Right.
Okay. Have never heard. It's very clear in the Bible. Just in case you haven't heard, if you bless Israel, you will be blessed. This one's to nations and peoples and individuals alike. If you curse Israel, you will be cursed. God makes that promise again, again, and again. Maybe we title this "Curse Israel and You Will Be Cursed."
Oh.
Or should we be more positive about that and say, bless Israel?
Do a little,
It's probably better than the ladder to hell, right?
I like the ladder to hell.
Okay.
Except I did
That's a
get
weird thing
convicted
to
when
say out loud.
I said yesterday.
I like that ladder
about
to hell.
somebody. I was in a group chat with my sisters, and I said, I hope that person's soul rots in hell forever. And then I got I kind of got a check when I sent it, but I was so mad, and I had to pray for I was praying for my own soul at that time and my own hate towards these awful people in the world. And my mom randomly sends a video I know this is good.
Yeah.
Of a Hezbollah leader. He was a top Hezbollah leader a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And during, like, he was, I don't know what he was doing, something, and Jesus showed up to him. And Jesus appears to the man. He said he was filled with, like, so much awe and wonder. And he said it was a light. And he was like, who are you? And he's like, Jesus. And he's like, what is Jesus? Because he's like, I have the Quran and I read it, but what are you? And he's like, I'm the way, the truth, and the light. And he's like, you're filled with hate, and I want to get rid of that hate. And the guy, this Hezbollah leader, is like, who am I for you to get rid of my hate? Like, look at all I've done.
Yeah.
And Jesus is like, it doesn't matter. I love you anyways. So this guy says he crumbles to the floor and he ends up weeping. And he's like, Jesus came and he saved me. If he can save me, he's like, I was taught from my birth that you're supposed to hate Jews. He's like, I looked up to Hitler. I just thought he didn't finish the job. So it's my job to finish the job. Because I had a discussion with a friend yesterday because she was like, Palestinians, like this war's, I don't really agree with all of it. And I said, some people are innocent. But I said, if you watch videos and you do any background on what they teach these kids at a young age in Palestine, in Gaza, it's to hate the Jews. There's cartoons saying the Jews are trying to kill you. They're teaching the Jews that you guys are horrible people, that they want you dead.
Where did you see these cartoons? You saw these.
Actually, it was on, what's his name? Dennis Prager.
Yeah.
And
You can see the cartoons.
what's the other guy?
That the Palestinian
Not
children
Sean
watch.
Hannity, but he's like
The Jews are going to kill you. Kill them first.
gray hair.
That's what these kids are learning.
Glenn Beck.
Glenn Beck.
Glenn Beck.
Are the Israeli kids learning that?
No.
Not at all.
No, they're not. And
And no, our American kids aren't learning that either.
No, but I was like, I
feel like they're on their way.
I know, but I was like convicted of that because I had to check myself because how do you not hate these people who are handcuffing toddlers to their cribs and then they set their houses on fire? Families are huddled in circles. And the guy just said, this is what the Hezbollah leader said. He said, there's a shade of white in heaven I can't even describe to you. This is what he saw in his vision. It's the purest glistening white I've ever seen. There's no shade like it on earth. It almost speaks, if that makes sense. It's the color of the Father. He's radiant white. His long beard is also white. The color speaks holiness when you're in his presence. And he's like, he washed me over with his love. And now this guy is helping some of the Jewish families whose siblings got abducted by the Hamas, and he's trying to help them find them. But
So God can
we
do
have
anything.
this connected. Yes.
That's what Lonaiah is trying to say.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Jesus appeared to one of the top, is Hezbollah. Hezbollah. That's who's in mainly in Lebanon, right? Their mission is to kill the Jews. Appears to him himself.
Yeah.
And basically this guy becomes a Christian.
Yes.
He converts on the spot. And don't we have a link to that?
We do have a link, but you're saying pray, and like sometimes I think, oh, what is that going to do? But it does.
Yeah.
Like, who am I to
Yes.
judge somebody?
Yeah.
And he was probably, that God doesn't do anything unless we do pray. See, that's the problem. People don't understand that we are to make his enemies his footstool, not him. He's done everything he's going to do. Right. And that's one of the great mistakes of the church. I wonder if all that we're going through in this country today is because of the policies that we have instituted.
Yeah.
Not just the happy left, right?
Mm-hmm. The happy left.
The happy left. Not just them.
Do they look happy?
But
No.
but
Raging,
yeah,
angry people.
the raging left. But George Bush giving over the land of the Gaza Strip, kicking out thousands of Israelis out of their homes under the guise of land for peace. Don't for a second tell me the Israelis did this. No, the Israelis wouldn't have done this if it was not for George Bush leveraging them. And what a coincidence. Katrina hit immediately after.
Right.
In New Orleans, the judgment of God. Obama was the worst. I mean, he never, you couldn't call him the worst. You know why? He did a lot of things under the table, but he was anti-Israel. He wanted to make Iran the power in that region. And so we're just following what the Bible says here. Think about this. The EU just announced they're the biggest funders of the Palestinians, therefore the Hamas. And they also,
Why does that not surprise me at all?
Yeah,
and they also announced that they're going to triple their funding to the Palestinians.
Wow.
What does that mean? Who did the Palestinians vote in to govern them? Who has complete control over the Palestinians? Hamas, right? Keep in mind, Anthony Blinken, Joe Biden, whoever that national security advisor is, that arrogant dude that looks like he's about 31, that doofus that I've seen all over, and he is a big doofus.
Does he have glasses? Is he the guy with the glasses?
This young guy's the national security advisor, I believe. Big supporters of Qatar.
Yeah.
Qatar, a major, if not the largest country that funds terrorism in the world. Wow. All the leaders from Hamas, they're not behind the front lines down there in the Gaza Strip.
No.
They live in small palaces in Qatar. They're very rich men, made rich partly by the EU and the government, yes, your government of the United States of America. And
who is the
Well, we
biggest, one of
fund
the
a lot
biggest
of crooked
funders of the UN, right? We're one of the biggest, if not the biggest.
Yeah,
Contributors.
I was listening to this guy. His name is Douglas Murray. He's out of England. He's amazing. And I don't know, I followed him for a while, but he popped up on my feed because you know how they don't always pop up on your feed. And he said 15 years ago, Israel was trying to negotiate with the Palestinian, like on the Gaza Strip, and they were willing to give them 90% of what they're asking for without giving up the land completely, but to like live amongst them. And he said that they refused. So he's like, I don't understand why everybody has a problem if Israel wants to go to war. Yeah. They're the only country that isn't allowed to win a war, and everybody else decides that. He's like, why is anyone else telling Netanyahu what he can and can't do?
Yeah. I've always asked the same thing.
And he said in England, he says, you would be surprised at the high up levels of Hamas, Hezbollah leaders that live there and organize all this from their nice places in these countries. He's like, they need to kick them out of their countries.
Same with the U.S.
Yes.
I mean, we've had people in Washington, living in Washington, organizing from Washington for the Palestinians.
Yeah.
And not just Palestinians. Obviously, they're going to be working for Hamas as well.
Yeah.
Why do we continue to support when they're obviously organizations that have already pledged to erase
And I don't know if you heard,
Israel.
but
and had 90 babies or whatever it was.
40 babies. But I heard that
those guys.
Yeah, earlier this month.
They can do that. Sorry.
Yeah.
But
No,
they
that's
can
okay.
do that. But I can tell you, the Israelis aren't doing that.
No.
I've never seen that. Right?
No, but they're making it look like,
Yeah.
well, we talked about that. They
Yes.
use human shields
Yeah.
to protect themselves. So it does look like if anything happens to Israel.
You have
Israel's are the aggressors.
You have everyone criticizing the Israelis for trying to push them and trying to push the Israelis to allow food and water into the Gaza Strip. And I saw this morning that Biden's suggestion, they're now letting it in. Okay.
$100 million U.S. tax dollars.
Can I tell you something? Yeah, you're paying for it. Can I tell you something? You think that food and water is going to those citizens?
Nope.
Okay. Who's the guys with the weapons?
Yeah.
It's going to the soldiers. It's going to Hamas. They're going to go to the Hamas troops. They're waiting in Gaza to first use the Palestinian refugees, women and children as human shields.
Right.
See, Israel is saying, get out, get the civilians out. Interesting enough, Egypt doesn't really want them. Jordan doesn't want them. Hamas is trying to keep them in Gaza to use them as human shields.
Right.
So when the ground war starts, Hamas says, look, they're killing civilians. Another reason not to let the humanitarian aid in.
Yeah.
You can't tell me those trucks coming out of Egypt, they're going to have food, water, medical aid?
And possibly more supplies.
Biden said
they're going to
that
have weapons. They're going to have ammunition. And who's going to search them? The UN?
no.
The UN people are going to search those trucks.
Who's already funding?
Triple. They said they were going to triple what they were doing. But Biden said he's going to stop all funding if he finds out Hamas is taking it. But it was
Obviously,
proven.
Israel is trying to operate this like a siege. A siege means that you basically run people out of supplies, so they'll give up peacefully. Right? They'll leave that area peacefully, so they don't have to eliminate them. And this is just counter to any sort of plan of that. I mean,
maybe it's just I'm a skeptic, so it's all just.
When you see our government, and they already have, making Israel let in humanitarian aid, and that started this morning. In essence, you're letting in weapons. The trucks that deliver the actual aid will be used in the ground war against Israeli troops. If our government tells Israel to hold off on the ground war, all these things, this is allowing, if you look at the Bible, you are looking at your own nation being cursed. It can affect your life, okay? So you need to be praying for these things, because if you bless Israel, you will be blessed. If you curse Israel, you'll be cursed.
Yeah.
And can I give you a quick prophecy? No, I wouldn't call it a prophecy. It would be what the Bible calls, I think, a word of wisdom. It's disheartening and despicable, the pro-Palestinian demonstrations going around the United States. And if you look at the rhetoric, some of it is so sick.
Yeah.
It's
They actually enjoyed what was happening to those Jewish citizens. And this is what you need to pray against. Even if it's for a minute a day, 2 minutes a day. It's very strong if a lot of people do it. Just a little bit. It adds up. But you need to pray against violence and riots erupting in this country.
Right.
yeah.
When the Israelis start the ground war on the Gaza Strip. Okay?
Yeah.
Because once these riots start, I can tell you, they're going to send out Antifa,
Right.
who's going to get violent. They're going to start destroying things and then blame it on people like us.
Right.
Right? Say it's them on the right. So you need to cover this in prayer,
Yes.
because it is something that can get out of hand over here. Okay? That's the word of wisdom
Well,
for today. Okay.
Well,
What's
I
that,
was going to
Lonaiah?
say this is part of the news, but I'll just, because it goes good with this part. There already is pro-Palestinian
Violence.
violence taking place. An insurrection at the Capitol. Did you see the videos? You haven't seen any of the videos
No,
of
Channel 11
what
wasn't
is
saying that.
happening at? Okay,
Channel 11
Our
didn't report
capital?
that this morning.
no, the state capitol, like in Washington D.C. Okay, so there was a hospital bombing in Gaza.
Right.
The news, everybody was saying, this is Israel. Look what they did. They bombed this hospital. All these women and children died. They killed
Yeah.
innocent people.
What about the
All
40
over the news.
beheaded babies?
All over the news yesterday.
Yep.
Okay, you just wait for the whole day to come. At the
Right.
end of the day, they found out because they got radio footage and they saw it. Got the Hamas bombed a parking lot
Right.
and made all this propaganda to make it look like the Israelis shot up
dropped a
and bomb on a
Yeah.
hospital, and they didn't. And so
Yeah.
a reporter said to Biden, like, hey, I just want you to know, like, this is what was said and this is actually what happened. So Hamas is lying. They wanted to blame on Israel. And Biden says they just need to learn how to shoot their bombs straight. That was his response, like just brushing it off, like they need to get better at their like precision points, when obviously we know it was
set it
on
up.
purpose
Right.
to
It's
on
make
purpose.
Israel look bad. But because of that, all this happening,
Yeah.
you had a pro-Palestine protesters, thousands of people inside the U.S. Capitol, led by, what's her name? Rashida Tlaib.
Yep.
She was outside talking to
Wailing
people.
and gnashing of teeth. Just
Yes.
being absolutely ridiculous and lying.
Yep, and they had
it
Capitol
got
Police.
violent, didn't it?
Yeah, the Capitol Police were arresting people, pulling people out. They were yelling. I mean, you guys.
Isn't that funny, though? Can I just say, none of that was on the morning news that I watched.
Really?
Maybe you guys saw it.
I'll send a link because
Isn't
it
that interesting?
is
They kept that
shocking.
off the news.
Yeah, exactly.
But remember when the January
should probably
6th
have a
people walked
J6
in
situation
nicely
for them.
into the Capitol? These people are literally yelling. They had to stop. I think
Let's
it was
call
like
it the Marinara 6
Yeah. Oh.
people.
the Marinara 6
Marinara
people.
Yeah, because they're just, it's.
But they didn't get the
I just don't want this canceled because we just mentioned that
1-6 then. The people on 1-6.
Marinara
They
6.
you can't, but they didn't get the vaccine.
It's not about
well,
marinara.
you got the marinara, and then you
And
got
you
the
got-
marinara 6.
Okay.
Okay.
If you guys can follow along with Jim's coded words. But anyways, I'm just saying,
I'm just trying to keep it up on YouTube.
how were these people, how is that not an insurrection? You are literally stopping
yeah.
things from happening inside the Capitol. They had to shut down a congressional meeting because it was so loud in there. These people are so
Interesting.
crazy and ridiculous. And didn't you tell me there was like
Such a
thousands
show,
of people
too.
who did a pro-Palestinian rally in Bryant Park in Minneapolis
Oh,
last
right
weekend?
away. Yeah, there was a couple of them. There was a couple of them down in Uptown.
But do you remember when we did that? They called us R1. that happened, they call us MAGA extremists.
Right.
We are crazy. We are causing
Right.
uproars all over the country and causing issues. But when they do it, it's good for them.
Well, they hide it.
You are,
First of all.
when you are part of that, what are you promoting? Do you know what Hamas did? That's what you're standing for.
Right.
Yeah,
Those
let
people.
them stand for it. Let them stand for it. You're not going to change them. Only Jesus can change them.
That's right. He can.
All right. So
Pray for
listen,
them.
Yeah.
But this is what you need to cover in prayer. All right. And switching gears, I need to update you about the nasty, evil World Health Organization, otherwise known as the WHO, or the WHO.
The who?
The WHO had a meeting called the World Health Assembly in Geneva, Switzerland. I just want
Which
to
is a great
keep
place.
this in front of you here. In May 2023, it's their annual yearly meeting. These meetings are available to view at who.int, WHO.int.
Who in it?
It's called the 76th World Health Assembly.
You know it's who, isn't it?
Again, at the who.int. If you click on the videos for the afternoon roundtable meetings, you will see very clearly the people that run the World Health Organization and those afternoon roundtable meetings are stating timelines, goals that they have for you. That they have for you, America, and the rest of the world. They entered 307 amendments to their global health rules, something they like to call their global pandemic treaty, although now it's not a treaty, okay? So these documents, these new amendments, they ratify them in their next annual meeting in May 2024. If no nation objects to these amendments that are members of the World Health Organization, they ratify these changes.
I object.
What this says,
You have to be a country, John.
what this says is
Jonistan. We object.
193 member nations of the World Health Organization. These are members of the United Nations. Also, the World Health Organization is the health arm of the United Nations. And they are saying, in the face of a World Health Organization declared pandemic, all 193 nations will give up their national sovereignty over all healthcare decision making.
Wow. And did you hear that
I
the
object.
next wave of COVID was supposed to break out on December 7th, but that's been put on pause now because of the Israeli war?
Yeah.
That's what they said.
Okay, but what that's saying is that the World Health Organization, that gives them complete power over all 193 nations to lock those countries down even further than you would see the things that you saw going down in China, all right, where they were taking people away and quarantining them, breaking into their houses, dragging them into quarantine. If
Locking them in their
if they're in
houses.
charge of all healthcare decision making, they can tell you what you can eat. What you can buy, technically, what can be sold and bought. What can be sold under the basis of your health care. They could close churches, schools, businesses. They could demand that you get any vaccine. Marinara, right? Marinara, they deem appropriate.
Side of marinara.
Yeah.
Can I also say that I object?
Thank you, John.
You're welcome. I think
That gives me a lot of relief.
Speaking of the vaccine, did you see that only 2% of Americans have gotten
The marinara.
This is the CDC's report.
A CDC. Okay, go ahead.
the marinara from
I
CDC.
just said it.
This is an
2%
important
of
episode
Americans.
to get canceled. Even if it's just on,
I'm not giving
ridiculous
Miss
YouTube.
YouTube.
2% of Americans have gotten the latest marinara.
That's it. That's it.
Because
so much
2%
content has come out about what has really been going on with the
Does that
side
tell you,
effects.
though, that Americans,
They're waking up.
I think there's a lot more
Best
people
part of waking
that believe
up
like us.
is
That believe
to
like
not
us.
Yes,
be a
Jim.
zombie.
You would have been a great actor. You don't ever break character.
I just try to finish my statement.
I know.
There's a lot more people that believe like us
Yeah.
than than they want you to think.
Yeah.
If only 2% have gotten the marinara. Okay? And so
That must be the arm.
so if your nation agrees to this, all 193 have
Left
to agree.
hand?
All one. I know you guys are getting
Antsy?
yeah, antsy, okay? Because we've been sitting here for an hour, but we just have a little bit left, okay?
Okay,
do it.
Mr. Hammond.
Okay, all 193 of these nations have to agree. They will be given the platform for a one world government. As long as we're in some hokey pandemic, they've declared they will have total control of America. They have tried to sneak this through in different ways, our national government, to accept an earlier treaty. They've tried it a couple times. Yes, your illustrious Biden administration are the ones pushing this. They are. They're the ones pushing it. The Biden Health and Human Services Secretary for the United States from the Biden administration was at these meetings.
Oh.
You can view them online. All right. He's like, we're all for it.
Yeah.
Let's get it done. This is something to at least pray for, because one nation can shut this down.
Okay.
By saying we're not doing this. Remember, now there's politics involved.
Yep.
If you've got some little nation that sees what this is and says, no, we're not giving up our sovereignty,
Yeah.
right? For what the Chinese run World Health Organization decides is a pandemic.
Yeah.
And don't think they're not going to get together and put political and economic pressure on this little nation or nations, right?
Yeah.
Think about that.
Which makes me question, have you guys seen all the presidential elections in these other countries where people are protesting because the guy who won isn't who they wanted,
Right.
isn't who the people wanted?
Right.
So it makes me wonder if those are the people who are on board for the WHO treaty.
They're going to vote yes.
Absolutely.
Because then they know that they have this secured down and it's not going to be an issue for them.
Yeah. We saw that in the end of 2020 and 2021. There was mysteriously multiple
Yes.
country
Yes,
leaders.
you're
There's
right.
like 5 or 6,
is
especially
it
in
called?
Africa,
Yeah.
where all of a sudden they mysteriously were replaced because
forgot about that.
a leader passed away.
Killeried.
Accidentally. Killeried.
Killeried. You have to first pray for the U.S. to say no to this. Even thought that's hard to see with our illustrious presidential administration.
Yeah.
Then we have to pray for multiple other nations to say no.
Okay.
You may find yourself, before the rapture comes down, locked in your house, dodging marinara squads.
Right.
Marinara squads. Vaccine. And so it's not anymore
Slick.
it's not anymore seen as a treaty. It's not. It's no more a treaty. No longer a treaty.
It's a bid for world domination, to be honest.
Our House of Representatives, our Senate, they're going to take no part in it. No. These are going to be global health rules enacted if you are a member of the WHO, which unfortunately is most of the world. All right?
Yep.
Trump obviously didn't pull us out of the UN, but he pulled us out of the World Health Organization.
Right.
Gee, I wonder why. We need to pray for multiple countries to say no.
Yep.
We don't want this. So we are not pushed into a one world government before the rapture comes, which happens whenever the WHO feels like they should declare a pandemic. Your rights are gone, right? America at that point, gone. And we don't have to give you a time to, back this up. But if you do really look into this, China calls the shots.
Yeah.
Behind the World Health Organization.
Yeah, we've talked about the World Health
They
Organization
are in lock
detail.
step with China.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so I know I kind of tried to silence you guys there.
It's okay.
I object.
Sorry about that.
I object.
I didn't feel
Is
silenced.
that John's fourth objection?
John Stanian, what'd you say your country's name was?
Jonistan?
Jonistan. Speaking of the EU, you guys, and
Gapland?
Just a little bit of news, because we did talk about some things that I was going to bring up in the news, but we're better at the part. But
No, it's fine. Let's go through it.
well, we already talked about 2 of the 3 of the items. But the EU is fast-tracking Digital Services Act to tackle illegal content in wake of Israel-Hamas war. Isn't that interesting that they would use this
Right away
as a propaganda piece to control people's speech of what is mis and disinformation? So they're trying to roll that out. So what do you think other countries are going to do? Oh, they're going to do it too.
I think we should.
I think we should. They're going to silence you.
Yeah. It's
Is that just... I read that and I was like, that doesn't surprise me at all.
Is there anything else you missed? Let's just get it all.
I see this. I bring up 1984, the
book.
Orson Welles book.
Yeah, I have that.
And movie. It is obvious that there is a very similar tactic by media and by people who are pulling strings to try to sway opinion because people don't. I mean, some people just don't have the ability to get information otherwise than on TV or on certain websites or whatever. But if you do not want to track down the truth, you will simply be hearing what their side is or what their point of view is, their narrative.
And you're dumb.
And you're going to continue to just fall for what they are pushing.
Yeah, like
Those
John was
people are
saying
dumb.
in the beginning how he was watching videos that were staged with...
Yeah, they're staged all over. And it happens on a regular basis because they have a narrative. They have
But of course, they're going to use this war because they want it to be one-sided. So they want to control the narrative.
And so they'll continue to say, oh, we had this great victory for these people. But, who knows what the victory is going to be. You don't even know who you're fighting for or you're fighting with.
Right.
You're just cheering for whatever the narrative says you're supposed to cheer for.
Right. I agree.
Take these 2. Do these 2 for sure here.
Yeah, these are my last 2.
This is no. If you missed anything,
no, I hit it all.
All right.
Okay, so former Twitter personality Douglas McKay, we talked about him. He was sentenced to 7 months in prison because he made a meme of Hillary Clinton that said, avoid the line, vote from home, text Hillary, and then he did it, remember? So people really thought that they could vote from home. So he got sentenced to 7 months in prison because of a meme he created. Okay, first of all, people, are you really that gullible that you think you can vote anywhere except going somewhere?
They probably came up with those people.
I would definitely watch to make sure that he doesn't get Killeried while he's in jail.
Yes, I know. Speaking of, I was telling Jim yesterday, so President Clinton's former health supervisor, when he was in office, when all the COVID stuff started coming out and all the information on the marinara started coming out, she started to question it. Okay?
Yes.
She was like deep in with the Clintons, with everything they said.
Yep.
Started to say, why are people opposing this? What do people see? So she started to do her own deep dive into it. She ends up getting saved. See, this is why you pray for people. She ends up getting saved, and now she speaks out against the marinara shot and all of the symptoms, side effects, and complications
and
that come
things
with
they
it.
knew
Yes.
were going into the marinara.
And not talking and being
We're
honest
not talking about
it.
oregano.
Or pasta.
Meatballs.
Yeah.
Anyways, Hillary Clinton, I don't know if you guys saw this. It was on the news last week. I meant to talk about it. But she did I don't even know where she was. Oh, CNN. That's where it was. I didn't want to say CNN and just assume, because that is not the best thing to do.
Takes something and something. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, John. But she called for formal deprogramming of Trump cult members. So she calls anybody who supports Trump a cult member, and she says that they require formal deprogramming. And she said we have a very strong partisans in both parties in the past, and we have bitter battles over all kinds of things, gun control, climate, economy, taxes, but there wasn't this little tail of extremism waving. She's calling us extremists.
Right.
Okay?
Anyone who doesn't support her.
Doesn't support her.
Who destroyed the country? The riots?
The riots.
Oh, yeah.
I can tell you who destroyed Minneapolis.
I can tell you.
And it wasn't it wasn't us.
They flew Antifa in.
Yeah, they flew
to
them in.
come
And
to
bust.
Minnesota.
And
yes.
Bust them in.
And cause all those riots. Hey, we did it on the podcast a couple weeks ago.
Yes. So
But you guys, look at what she's saying. They need to be deprogrammed. this is the kind of content that people hear. And I don't know the guy's name, but he said that he heard mega. These people are extremists. They're crazy for years and years.
Right.
I think he was on like New York Times or something. I was reading about it 2 days ago. And he said, again, he started to look into it for himself. And he's like, these people aren't crazy. They're just speaking the truth, and they're going against what this other group is saying. So they're getting slammed down.
What the minority
and targeted
is saying.
with names. And he's like, these people are right about everything they've said. They're right.
Absolutely.
Not just Trump's. I'm just saying like mega extremists.
Anybody who opposes.
He said they're labeled wrong. And he said the 1/6 event that happened on 1/6, he said was totally blown out of extreme proportion.
Absolutely.
I usually don't care. I guess we can just move this to Rumble, right?
I don't think
Like
we're
we
going
did
to
last
have.
time.
We're not going to
notice-
have a problem.
Notice on Rumble, like when
Let's get
when
rid of the
YouTube
Rumble.
canceled our last one, we immediately
Had a bunch
from
of
the website
views.
sent it to Rumble.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And because we have a website, the Final Hour Podcast, all one word.com.
Yep.
Right. The Final Hour Podcast, all one word, no spaces.com. And you go there and we push that thing to Rumble when it got canceled on YouTube. And that's our like one
Big
on
episodes.
Rumble. We've got a bunch of them on Rumble with 70 views, and then we've got one on Rumble with
900.
800 or 900 views, right? And so, if that happens, know that if you go to the website, you're going to go straight to Rumble.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you want to watch us, otherwise.
If you want to watch us, right? But we just want to close today, and I just want to pray over you. This is something that you would pray, right? I would pray this every single day at this point, all right? This is a prayer for protection. It is Psalm 91. I pray this for our viewers, listeners, subscribers every day, but let's just agree in the name of Jesus with 2,000 people, whatever the views, listens per week, agreeing with this. There's a lot more power to it. And so this is just right out of the Bible, but I kind of personalized it a little bit for you, for us, over all the viewers, listeners, and subscribers of the Final Hour Podcast team. Because we dwell in the secret place of the Most High, we shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of you, Lord, you are our refuge and our fortress. Think about these words. Our God, and you did we lean on, rely on, and trust. Surely you shall deliver us from the snare of the fowler. Put that picture in your mind. And from the noisome pestilence. Marinara. From the noisome pestilence. Surely you shall deliver us from the snare of the fowler and from the noisome pestilence.
You would cover us with your wings.
Cover us with your feathers.
Our feathers.
Under your wings did we trust. Yeah. Picture that. Your truth shall be our shield and buckler. We shall not be afraid of the terror by night, nor of the arrow, things that come at you during the day, nor the pestilence, marinara, that walks in darkness, nor the destruction that wasteth at noonday. 1,000 may fall at their sides, our sides, 10,000 at our right hands, but it shall not come near us. Only with our eyes shall we behold and see the reward of the wicked, because we have made you, Lord, our refuge, even the Most High, our habitation. No evil shall befall us, neither shall any plague, marinara, come near our dwelling. You shall give your angels charge over us. They kept us in all our ways. And our pathway is life. There is no death. Your angels bear us up in their hands, lest we dashed our feet against a stone. We tread, these are demons, upon the lion and the adder, the young lion and the dragon. Do we trample under our feet? Because we set your love upon us. When we set our love upon you, you deliver us. You set us on high. In the middle of all this, you set us on high. We call on you. You answer us. You're with us in trouble. You deliver us and you honor us with long life. Long life, do you satisfy us and show us your salvation. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you for viewing the Final Hour Podcast. God bless you.
Bye.